Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel where I love to bring you the best tips and tools for creating beautiful home decor on a budget. Today I am here with 5 functional farmhouse home decor DIYs, so let's get started. So today's first DIY, maybe not so much functional, but sure does look cute. We're going to repurpose a wrapped canvas, use this home sign, an embroidery hoop, some wood beads, and some 1-gallon paint stir sticks. So if you guys have watched my channel at all, you know I love to repurpose these canvas paintings once you either find it at a thrift store where someone else has painted it, but I like to take the canvas painting off and reuse that wood frame. So to fit the space behind the frame, I am cutting about 12 or 13 of these 1-gallon paint stir sticks. I'm just cutting them right where they start to narrow there, where the little handle is. And this makes them long enough that they can fit across the back. Next, I'm going to take my white Waverly chalk paint and just give this nice wood frame just a coat, a really light coat of this white chalk paint. And then once it is dry, I will sand it just a tiny bit to distress it. But of course, the color choice and whether you distress it or not is completely customizable for you and your decor. I love doing these and love to make them for gifts. It's a really great way to kind of elevate the value of these wood frames with the shiplap look. Now this is a Martha Stewart paint. It's getting kind of old now, but I love this teal color. I would say that this would be similar maybe to Waverly's Peacock if you wanted to find a similar color in chalk paint. I am going to water it down just a little bit so that it goes on a little easier and a little bit lighter. And I'll be sanding these a little bit too once they're dry. So I'm just painting all of my paint sticks with one light layer of this watered down teal paint. Like I said, once those are dry, I'm just going to sand them a tiny little bit just to kind of bring out a little bit of the wood from the paint stick, but it kind of brought out more of the green of the paint, which I thought was interesting, but I liked it. It did make a little bit of dust, so just go ahead and wipe those off with a paper towel, slightly damp, and here is what you will end up with. I chose to make mine a little more rustic and antiqued looking, so I'm barely brushing a tiny bit of my antique wax on here, and then we will wipe off the excess and sand them a tiny little bit. Again, this is an optional step. You do whatever colors and amount of distressing that you want that fits your decor and your general decor likes and dislikes. Letting those dry, rubbing them a little bit of the excess, and then like I said, I am going to sand them just a tiny little bit. Now we'll come back to our frame, which, like I said, I did sand it just a little bit on the edges. And then we're going to hot glue our paint sticks across the back. Now, once I get this first one glued down, I am going to flip it over just to make sure I have my paint sticks going straight. And then I will go ahead and glue the rest of them all along the frame. And I love how this turned out. I love the patina and the green and the dark brown and the natural wood coming through. Now there's lots of places you could find the word home. I know Hobby Lobby sells them. Michael's probably sells them. Sometimes you can find them at Dollar Tree. This is a sign from Dollar Tree from the fall. And this front piece just comes right off. It's a thicker kind of cardboard. So I'm just going to cut out the word home home to use for this project. You can use a box cutter. Eventually I realized I could just cut this with some scissors. So I'm just going to cut out mainly the word home, and then we'll get that ready to add to our project. Once I had the word cut out how I wanted, you can take a little sander and sand any edges that are sticking out. Then I did take my ink, Waverly chalk paint, and paint one coat over the front, mainly to cover that stripe at the top of the H, and also to give it a uniform look. I also used the black on the sides because they were just the natural cardboard color, just to make it all black. Now I'm going to take this embroidery hoop that I've had in my stash. I always look for these at thrift stores. They're really fun to craft with. You can do lots of things with them. And I'm just tacking down my cardboard word home in the center of my hoop. I am keeping my hoop the natural wood color. I feel like it kind of matches with the natural wood peeking through on our background. Then to cover up the little metal thing at the top, I'm going to wrap some jute twine around. Now, if I would have thought about this, I would have just used the inside hoop that did not already have that metal thing on it. I would have separated the two hoops, but I'd already glued my word to both hoops, so I was kind of stuck with it. So took some jute twine, wrapped it around, and kind of covered that up, and it gave me a focal point there at the top of my hoop. So just keep wrapping it, trim off, and then go ahead and glue it where the end is there. Next, I took another long piece of the jute twine, I doubled it over, and then folding it in half, I put the loop under my hoop and then fed the other end through to kind of make a hanger here for the hoop. So now it's 4 strands, and I'm going to glue that on the back so that it hangs pretty much right in the center of our frame. To make a hanger for the sign, I just took another piece of jute twine and about 8 of these beads that I got on Amazon. I believe they're in a variety pack that I have in my Amazon storefront, so check out the link in the description box. And then we're going to glue that hanger to the back of our sign as well. I tried to space it evenly, so I believe I went in 3 inches from the edge, either edge of the frame. And we'll glue that on, let that dry completely before we move on. Now, if you like the simplicity of just the hoop with the word home, you could stop there. I decided to add some florals to the bottom portion of my hoop. So these are a couple greenery bouquets, I believe from last spring, but I think these are coming back this year to Dollar Tree. I'm just going to shorten the stems just a little bit, and we're going to bend them so they kind of round out at the bottom of the hoop. I'm going to take a piece of some floral wire and attach these 2 stems together in the shape and the length that we want. Here's that floral wire. I just kind of wrap it around and then twist it really good to attach these 2 together. Another great supply for doing this from Dollar Tree are zip ties. They are usually found in the automotive section. And I'm actually going to show you here because I'm going to use one to attach now my floral stems to the bottom of my hoop. So you just stick it around and then pull it tight, and it will hold super tight. And then I'm just going to make a small bow with this black and white gingham check ribbon from Dollar Tree to cover up where they meet and where the zip tie is. I love this. If you're not a fan of the colors I chose, you can do this project with whatever colors you would like. And I just think this would make a great addition to your decor, or even a really beautiful, thoughtful, handmade gift for a friend. If you're here today stopping by my channel for the first time, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you see and you'll consider sticking around by hitting that subscribe button. If you are returning to my channel today, welcome back. Thank you so much for your support of my channel. It really does mean a lot to me. This next project shows how you can take one supply from Dollar Tree, or these are actual Jenga blocks from a thrift store, and use them to make something functional for your home. So here I am going to make 2 cube shelves, and I'm going to make sets of 3 blocks. You see here, I'm going to be using my Titebond wood glue to glue these together in sets of 3. Now I'm going to make my large shelf is going to have sides that are 4 sets long. So that would be what, 4 times 3, 12. So 48 Jenga blocks to make my big shelf. And then my smaller cube shelf is going to have 3 sets of 3 on each side. So here's my sets of 3 for my smaller shelf. So I'm going to use 9 on each side. So that means I used 36 Jenga blocks to make my smaller size here. Now I am, like I said, using actual Jenga blocks that every time I see a Jenga game at a thrift store, I buy it because they're real wood and I love using them to make things. But you could use this same idea and use the tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. You could use the version of tumbling tower game that Dollar General sells, whatever. So here at the top, you can see my sides for my smaller shelf, and these are the sides for my longer shelf. You can see there's just a few places where you can see the word Jenga, but I really liked how I made the sets of 3 go, like here they go vertical and then horizontal, then vertical, then horizontal. You could definitely leave these the natural wood. I just think it's really pretty with all the different shades, or paint these a color to match your decor. I decided, because I'm not sure where I'm going to use these yet in my house, I decided just to use my antique wax and make them the darker wood color. So like you always see me do, brush it on, wipe off the excess, and then we'll let those dry. And we'll do the same process here for my smaller shelf, where the sides are 3 sets of blocks long. Now to put these together, I just used some Titebond wood glue, and you can see that top piece is overlapping the left side, and then the right side is to the side. So that was really bad explaining, but here you can see I'm going to put the bottom piece here on the bottom of the left side. And I'm using the grid on my mat there to kind of try to keep everything super straight. Now my top piece is going to be on the side of my left piece. So you can see the bottom goes all the way to the corner, then the left side goes all the way to the corner, and then this top piece is going to go all the way to the corner, and then that last right side meets the top underneath, and then at the side of the bottom. I think you can see it better than I'm explaining it. So that's how I glue my 4 pieces together to make it perfectly square. And this wood glue is awesome, but you do want to let it sit so that it bonds really well before you move it and pieces come apart. But
I also wanted to cover up, for some reason on a few of these pieces, that word Jenga was just like screaming at me. So I took some truffle chalk paint. It's the dark brown, closest to the antique wax. And I'm just kind of brushing it on lightly over the words. And then I kind of rubbed it and sanded it a little bit. But here's how my two sizes of shelves look. You can easily hang these on the wall, or you could use them on a shelf like this just to give some height and interest to your decor.
If you love budget home decor videos like these, please consider giving this video a thumbs up, as it really does help me to grow my channel and be able to bring you new videos each and every week.
DIY number 3 is a fun little one, just using a few supplies from Dollar Tree, putting them together to make something new. One of these house shapes, the word home in the wood section of Crafter's Square. The metal heart I got off of a Valentine's sign, but you could use whatever shape you want. And I showed you that other wood house. These came with like some foam flowers glued to them. So I pulled those off and I went ahead and sanded the front of this house. And now I'm just painting it solid white again. But you could use, again, whatever colors that you want for your decor. So we're going to paint the house white, and then we're going to let that sit. I'm going to use a couple of these. These are not real Jenga blocks. These might be like from the Dollar General game, but you could definitely use a couple tumbling tower blocks on either side. I wanted to paint these black to give my little house shape the illusion of a roof. So painting these black, and then once there's dry, we will glue them onto the top of our house. Next, this little standing home wood sign. I'm going to use this pool blue. I think it's a nice color for spring. I love incorporating blues and greens into my house. I just feel like they're very natural, cozy, warm colors. And it did take a little bit with this tiny brush to paint inside and on the outside of all the letters, but I did do the front and the back because I wanted it to look as finished as possible. I am going to leave the stand part that I will paint black once my word is completely dry. Just giving my house a little sanding to get any extra globs of paint off, and then coming back to the home, and we're going to paint that base completely black, all on the front and the back and the sides and the bottom. Once all of our paint is dry, we'll now glue our project together. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on this back ledge and then on the back of my O and M letters. And then we're going to glue this to the front of the little house so that our house will be able to stand with the word home in front of it. So getting that as centered as I can, and then pressing it up and pressing it onto the front of the house. You can see our little galvanized heart there, and we're also going to glue our roof pieces. If you don't have one of these metal hearts, you could cut one out of scrapbook paper. You could use any of the wood heart ornaments from Dollar Tree or anything else that you find in your stash. Next, I'm just going to glue these two wood pieces right up to the top of the roof there. You'll see there is a little space. I tried a couple different things to fill that in, but in the end, I decided just to make a small black and white gingham ribbon bow that I'm going to glue right there at the top to cover over that little gap. And here's our finished product. I think this is so cute, and this would be a neat little gift to give or an item to make for a craft show booth.
If you have any questions about supplies or tools that I'm using in today's DIYs, please check the description box below the video title for any links that I have there.
DIY number 4 is one that I've been wanting to make for quite a while, this farmhouse round tray using nautical rope and these clear shower curtain rings from Dollar Tree. I have here a metal tray from Dollar General, but I would have preferred a pizza pan, so I did spray paint my tray black just so I wasn't seeing red coming through. But that is definitely an optional step. If you use a metal pizza pan from Dollar Tree, you don't need to worry about that. So starting on the outside of the pizza pan, inside the little edge there, I'm just going to start working with some hot glue and a couple packs of the nautical rope. I believe I actually used 3 to fill in the entire inside of the pizza pan. And you're just going to want to go in sections, make sure you're pressing it down nice and compact so that you don't get any gaps in your rope. And this is basically what you do. You just put down the hot glue, put down some more of the rope, and just keep going. When you do get to the end of one piece, just put some extra hot glue where the 2 pieces meet, and then you will get to the center. We'll just kind of fill in that center with hot glue. Wrap that nautical rope as tight as you can and trim off the excess. I trimmed it, filled in the hole, and then trimmed it again to get it flush. And then I did take this little spatula just to help me get it nice and flat without burning my fingers. So yeah, just press that down and we'll let that dry. Then I did do 3 more times around. This one is kind of like on top of the outer loop or the outer ring of the tray. Went all the way around. It's kind of filling in the gap there between that rope ring and the metal lip of the pan. Then I went right next to that. This one was a little bit raised because it's actually up on the metal rim of the tray. Go all the way around. And then we'll do one more on the very outside. Now I wanted to have some color to mine, and you guys know I love this teal color. So optional step, of course, you can paint as much or as little of the inside as you want. I like how you can still see the rope shining through or showing through, but I decided to do the inside of my tray with the Lagoon Teal chalk paint from Martha Stewart. Now that we have the base of our tray done, we're going to take our shower curtain rings and some jute twine. This would work fine with the thinner jute twine from Dollar Tree. This is a thicker one from Walmart, but you saw me put a little dab of hot glue and attach down the end of the jute twine. And then I'm taking it and just very tightly wrapping it all the way around the ring until I get to the end, and then I'm going to do another little line of hot glue and pull it super tight into the glue and let it dry completely before I trim off those little end pieces. So for my size pan, I used 16 of the shower curtain rings. They come 12 in a pack in the bathroom aisle of Dollar Tree. So you will need 2 packs for these. And then once I had them all wrapped, I'm going to take another piece of jute twine, and you can see I am tying 2 of them together. I'm just going to do a double knot. This is thick jute twine, so a double knot, and then pull it tight. I will put some hot glue over the knot to make sure that it doesn't come undone. But I'm going to do all 16 of these tied together in a ring. So you can see I'm going all the way down, and then we've got that dab of hot glue over the knot that is now dried. So then I can cut the tails of the knots as close to the knot as possible. Now these knots will go on the inside of our ring, and I wasn't too worried about seeing them. These are now the two ends of my line of 16 rings that I'm doing the last knot to tie them all together in a circle. And then once we have our circle of rings made, we will attach it to the top of our tray as kind of a little edge. Then once I had my rings in place where I liked them, I just did one ring at a time, put a little bit of hot glue under it, and then held it in place for a minute or so until it was completely attached. And the whole time I'm just kind of going back and making sure that they're all staying in place where I'm going to need them to be. And I absolutely love how this turned out. I'm actually considering making some more of these for my craft show as well. Let me know in the comments, what do you think I could sell these rope and tray, pizza pan trays for?
I love interacting with my subscribers. I do that through my community tab. So on my channel homepage, you should see across the top the word community. You will get notifications for that if on my channel you click the notification bell and choose all. YouTube will let you know each time I post in my community tab and upload new videos.
Like I mentioned before, I love bringing blues and greens into my decor. I love plants, whether they're living or artificial. I wanted to make a tall planter for some succulents. I did have some inspiration on Pinterest from something I saw there. So what I'm going to do for my base is I'm going to take 2 of these wood trays from Dollar Tree, and you can see here I'm breaking off one of the sides so that they don't have those pieces in the middle. I'm going to attach these together and make one larger tray. So in order to get rid of that gap there on the side, I am going to take my scissors and just trim these 2 trays where that side was sitting on the bottom and get them as close together as I can. Once they are trimmed, we'll take some wood glue and glue the 2 tray pieces together. And I will use my clamps as well to keep them really, really tight until they're completely dry. You might want to sand if there's any rough edges as well. Now you can see these lie together pretty well. We are going to take care of that gap on the bottom, but just using some of my Titebond wood glue there on the 2 side edges, glue them, press them together, and then we're going to use the clamps to hold them tight. Now that our tray is dry and one large tray, I'm going to take some of these giant craft sticks from Walmart and trim them just a tiny bit. You'll see I'm marking them here with my pencil. These are awesome. I love picking these up at Walmart in the craft aisle. Usually for me, right across from where the Waverly chalk paint is. You can cut them with a good pair of scissors. And we're just going to line the bottom of our trays. I think 5 was what I needed. It didn't go completely, but it left me a small little gap that I'm going to need anyway when I start building the tall back of my planter here that we're making. So just using some hot glue, we'll glue these into the bottom of our trays, and then you won't even see that little gap. You won't anyway because I'm going to be filling this, but maybe you just want to make this as little trays and you don't want to put plants in them. Here, this would make a really cute way on your desk that you could store a lot of things and not take up a lot of the surface of your desk. So here you can see I'm going to take 2 of the 5-gallon paint sticks from Lowe's, and I'm going to glue those to the back corners of my tray. And then here I'm measuring, it looks like about 9 inches of a piece I will need to go across those 2 tall pieces. I'm going to cut them right where they start to narrow. And then my 4 small pieces, 3 of them will be 9 inches, and that will be like the rungs of my ladder. And then I'm going to cut an even smaller piece to go at the back of my tray between my 2 5-gallon paint sticks. So here you can see I'm just going to glue my tall piece, which I believe is about 17 inches, is about where it starts to narrow. So this is going to be a pretty tall piece, again, that you could use for artificial plants like me, or real plants, or you could just use it kind of as a desk organizer idea. So here you can see that little gap at the back of the tray. That's right where these 2 5-gallon paint sticks are, and they're all the way down to the bottom of the tray. Now to go in here at the back of the tray, like I said, is going to be about 6 inches. So I'm going to cut one of those for the very bottom. But here's one of my 9-inch pieces that I cut, and I'm just using wood glue again, lining that up, squaring it off with my tall pieces and clamping it in place until it is completely dry. So this will be the very top of our project. And then I'm making a middle cross piece here about, I believe it was about 7 inches down from the top one, and also clamping that one in place. If you guys don't have any of these clamps and you do crafts, definitely get some of these that are in the automotive section. They're bigger, and then they also have small ones in the craft aisle. There at the bottom is my 6-inch piece that's going to just fit, like I said, between my 2 5-gallon sticks and right up against the back of the crate, just so those holes are covered up and it just looks more finished. Here's my third 9-inch piece that's going to go at the base there of my quote-unquote ladder, and to finish off the back of the project there. Use those clamps again until everything is completely dry. I decided I needed one more piece of that 5-gallon stick to do across the front of our planter so that those holes as well were covered up. So I just used my miter box and my saw to cut one more piece and glue that across the front. Looks nice. You know, you could even stencil a cute little word or sentiment on the front there if you wanted. But clamp that in place and let it dry. Then once all of our pieces of our planter are dry, we're going to take 2 of these wood boxes from Dollar Tree that have these lids, and we're going to glue the 2 lids to our framework here that we've made. I'm not worrying about the die cut image on the bottom because it is going to be on the bottom. So here I'm taking the first lid, and you can see I'm going to, at the top, glue this one all the way to the right and kind of underneath that top cross piece. I am going to hold it in place for quite a little bit because I can't really get a clamp on there. So there's that one glued, and I decided, oh, this would be smarter if I laid it down. So I laid it down to do the second one, which I'm going to do on the middle cross piece all the way to the left. Then to reinforce it on the back, I'm going to take a couple pieces of one of those giant craft sticks, some hot glue, and just glue that across the back so it's attaching to the box lid and also to the cross piece of our framework. So here you go, little shelves, but then I'm going to take the box and glue it inside the lid upside down like this. So just using some more wood glue. We're going to glue, or I guess I'm using hot glue, never mind. You could also use wood glue, but I'm just going to use hot glue since everything else is glued really well with the wood glue, and glue that in place, and it's also glued to that back paint stick. We'll do this to both of our little boxes. Now this is the point where you can decide what you want to put in your boxes. I'm choosing to make this a little succulent display. Maybe when live succulents are out in my area, I will take out the artificial ones and put in some real ones. I probably would need to put some sort of plastic down on the inside of the wood boxes just so they don't leak through. So taking some of these floral foam bricks, I actually got this pack of 3 at Walmart for $2.77, which is cheaper than Dollar Tree, so FYI. This box or bag of the white pebbles I did get at Dollar Tree. I'm just covering over. I did not hot glue my foam in, like I said, in case I want to change out what I put in here. Then I'm just taking some artificial succulents that I have from Dollar Tree, from Amazon, a couple that are in those little orange pots I found at a thrift store, and just arrange whatever you'd like in here. I love the versatility of this piece. If you decide to build one of these, I would love to know what you use yours for. If you use it for plants or if you use it as some other type of functional organizer for your home. And here's how it turned out. I love this. You could even make 2 of these and put them next to each other to make it even larger. And I'm just so excited. Of course, I left mine the natural wood, but you could paint yours. You could do the antique wax if you want. Really, you could make this whatever color you want for your decor and for your purposes.
Thanks again so much for joining me today. Please let me know in the comments which of these projects was your favorite, and we'll see you next time. Bye.